Hello, my name is Allison Parks and I own Conscious Real Estate. For those of you who don't know me, I own a real estate brokerage that donates 10% of all of our commissions to the nonprofit of our client's choice. Becca is a recent client, and she's also an attorney with the ACLU who specializes in bail reform, and she's chosen to donate to the Colorado Freedom Fund. So we also have Elizabeth Epps from the Colorado Freedom Fund today. So the reason I wanted to make a video to share with everyone is that before Becca started educating me about bail reform, I had no idea how the bail system played into the cycle of poverty. So I would like Becca to help bring that to light for the rest of you.
Hey, so here in Colorado, about 60% of our jail population is made up of people who haven't even been convicted of the crime that they've been charged with. On any given day, that's about 6,500 people who are being held just because they can't afford a money bond. We've seen bonds as low as $10. So that means that people are being held just because they can't scrape together a few dollars just to be able to buy their release from custody. This is wealth-based detention. It's something that here at the ACLU we're trying to challenge. It's wrong, it's unfair, it discriminates on the basis of poverty and race, and we're working to end it here.
So at the Colorado Freedom Fund, we've existed for a little over a year, and we hope we don't need to exist for too much longer. But we exist for two reasons, and the main one is similar to what my friend Becca mentioned. We are working to end wealth-based detention in Colorado and beyond. And while there's lots of aspects to wealth-based detention, the imposition of bail bond is the overwhelming one that we're working to end, so working to end cash bail. That's one thing that we exist to do. And the other thing that we're working to do, even as we're working to end cash bail, is to alleviate the harm of cash bail to our neighbors while we're working to change it. So that was a whole lot of words to say we're working with legislators to change the law to end cash bail. We're working with our friends at the ACLU to help in lawsuits that will change the bail landscape. And we're also working to enact direct action measures to change bail. But since those things don't happen overnight, what also happens is that we have neighbors who are caged on, as she mentioned, $10 bonds, very small amounts very often. And so what we'll do at the Colorado Freedom Fund is we post those bonds for our neighbors who can't pay them. And why this is important to us is these are folks who quite literally are only stuck in jail because of their inability to pay. So a very common charge that we would have our neighbors charged with would be a park curfew violation. So sleeping on a park bench after the park has allegedly or closed at 11 p.m. And so if Becca and I both had a long day and somehow both wind up sleeping on a park bench one night, as unlikely as that is, if we both wound up in that situation and she had access to $100 and I didn't, the only difference, if we both had the $100 bond set, is that she would be able to go home after paying the $100 and I wouldn't. And we think that's fundamentally unfair. We think it's unfair superficially because most of us should agree that it shouldn't be just about money, but we also think it's really unfair because of how it harms our neighbors and our communities. So when we have moms and fathers and siblings and people who are important to us who are stuck in a cage because of small amounts of cash bail, there's of course the loss of the income to the family. Often these folks are working. There's also the loss of the family relationships. Ties get fractured. People lose jobs very quickly. And there's also the drain of our creativity and institutional memory and all the things that happen and that are positive for us when our neighbors at home. So the Colorado Freedom Fund, as we're working to end wealth-based detention, we're looking to end cash bail and to continue posting it for folks while it exists. And what's so exciting to us about getting to be the recipient of the very generous gift from you all is that the way our model works is so we pay a bond for a neighbor who can't, and we pay that in full. So if a bond is $100, we don't pay 10%. We're not bail bondsmen. We are nonprofit. We don't make any money off of our neighbors. So if it's a $100 bond, we pay the full $100. And then when our neighbor resolves their case, which often happens pretty quickly, often cases are dismissed, but otherwise resolved, the person may be found guilty or not guilty. But either way, when the case is resolved, we get the full $100 back. So that $100 we get back then it helps us help the next neighbor. So anytime someone gives us $100 or $1,000, what's beautiful is that it of course helps the people that we post bond for right away, but it means that within a matter of weeks or months, we have an opportunity to get the money back and to help the next family. So quite literally, giving $1 to the Freedom Fund means giving $1 again, again, and again. And the goal is soon enough, sooner rather than later, to work ourselves out of business, to have a world without wealth-based detention, and to end cash bail. But as we're working to do that, both through lawsuits, through legislative change, and of course through our partners at the ACLU of Colorado. While we're working to do that, we're going to continue to help our families who need that assistance along the way. So at the Colorado Freedom Fund, we're working with folks who, by definition, have very little resources. There are neighbors who have the least. And for many of them, as well as in my own personal experience, our experiences, the lifelong experiences with business folks and with business owners, while they've often been positive, they haven't often been predicated on folks who are willing to really put their money where their mouth is, in terms of a lot of people pay lip service to saying we support social justice, but what does that mean? What does that mean if we're not willing to make ourselves a little uncomfortable or take something away from what we would otherwise have? And so when Becca told me that I'm excited for my friend selling her house, but when she told me that she was working with a real estate agent who was going to give a portion of that to a nonprofit of her choice, I certainly believed you. I didn't think you were lying, but I definitely had an eyebrow raised. Like, that sounds sketchy. I'm not really sure how that model works. So as thrilled as I am to be a recipient of it, I'm thrilled for everyone else that you've given a portion of it to. I think it's a real model for those of us who work within, right, we work within capitalism, is that while some things are unfair, we can make personal decisions about responsibility and about how to be responsible stewards of neighborhood resources and of community resources. So we thank you for doing that. And it's been many years since I sold the only home I've ever owned. But if I ever decided to buy or sell again, I certainly would reach out to do it to you. Can I give the percentage back to my own organization? I don't know if that would be the case.
You can.
But thank you for, as I thought that through, it sounded silly. But in all seriousness, thank you for doing that. For us as an organization, for the Colorado Freedom Fund, for giving a staff member and our friend at the ACLU of Colorado the opportunity, but also for being a model to other small business owners and to young entrepreneurs of how to be socially responsible in a way that is, you can certainly write checks and support organizations, and I hope people will, but you can also make a conscious decision to do that within your own work. So thank you for that.
Of course. With what you said earlier is basically the reason why I do what I do is that none of us are free until all of us are free. So that's pretty much the only reason I do this. So I'm really glad I got to meet you today.
Thank you so much.
And I'm really glad that you made this choice so that I got to, that we got to do this. I'm really excited. Really like how you refer to everybody as our neighbors, because I think that sometimes when we have these distances between us, what we need to remember is that we're really all neighbors. So I think that's a very important lesson to remember from all of this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.